When? Okay. Turn me. Be here. See, 10 seconds.
Time to spare.
Okay. It is 8:30. I call this meeting of the Riley County Commission to order. Please, everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good morning, everybody. Monday, a little chilly still, so on and so forth. So I think our first order of business this morning is the reorganization of the Board of County Commissioners, which comes once a year. So those duties and responsibilities get transferred on to somebody else. So I'll start the morning by making the official moment that we appoint Commissioner Greg McKinley as Chair of the Riley County Commission for 2022 and Commissioner Folke as Vice Chair of the Riley County Commission for 2022.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded on that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the meeting is now yours.
Okay.
And all the signatures too. We got one other official duty here. Yeah. Shoot, my desk just got a lot lighter. My desk just got a lot lighter.
Okay, like public comments. See Julie on Zoom. You got something for us today?
I do. I just have a quick update. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, just a quick COVID update. We're seeing quite a few cases coming in, as you're aware. We're trying to get them all prioritized. We have unfortunately had to send some cases to KDHE, but we're hanging on to all of our cases 18 and younger and 55 and older. All of the rest, or most of the rest, have gone to KDHE. We can send them up to 50 cases per day, and we've definitely taken advantage of that limit on a few days. Right now, we're managing about 40 to 50 cases per day after we assign some to KDHE. We have had over 500 cases since Christmas. So again, it's just a matter of prioritizing those. We expected to see an increase in cases with this new variant, but I think most concerning is the hospital situation. So we're in constant communication with Bob to try to help out on a day-to-day basis with that. We currently have 14 COVID positive patients in the hospital as of this morning. 5 of them are in the ICU and 3 on ventilators. We are still offering rapid symptomatic testing here at the health department Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We are very busy. We actually have cars out there right now getting tested. They'll be getting tested throughout the day. KDHE is still available at the mall parking lot Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, offering PCR tests. They have unfortunately had to cancel a few days last week because of the severe cold. So we are working on Plan B to have them indoors at some facility. We're still looking around at suitable facility that will allow us to do testing inside. This week looks nice, so that buys us some time. We have this week to try to find an indoor location for them. We have had some guidance change. The last few weeks, CDC has come out with some guidance change, and KDHE has adopted most of that. We're still waiting on the final written documents to come out from KDHE. That is for K through 12 schools. But I worked with USD 3 all day yesterday to try to figure out the flow to moving forward. And we've come up with some good guidance moving forward. So that has gone out as of last night to all of the schools in the county. Congregate settings and daycares are to continue following the original guidance until we hear otherwise from KDHE. We are vaccinating every Tuesday and Thursday here at the health department by appointment. Luckily, we're able to offer the flu vaccine at the same time. We are hoping to offer a booster clinic just for county employees and their families on a Friday this month. And we're hoping to get your approval to be able to do this so that they can take an hour or so off and be able to get the booster. And with that, I'll let you ask any questions that you might have.
Did the hospital tell you they had 1 death in the ICU on Friday?
I believe they may have had 1 or 2 that we'll report on Wednesday.
Because I didn't know if you had reported that or not. But
Yeah, we'll likely report that on Wednesday.
Yeah, I know one died on Friday, so.
Regarding this, regards to that Omicron, is that a different test to find out if that's the variety, if they have that or a standard one? And do we do that? Do they do that all the time or not?
They do random sequencing at the state. So we have to rely on them to do the sequencing with our tests coming in. But I could almost guarantee that the ones that we're seeing here recently are almost all the variants. So
That's what, if that quick test doesn't, they have to do some special test right at the state to find out which variety it is, which doesn't really matter. It's if it hurts me. I mean, it matters. That's what's going on, but whatever it is, it's the case.
with the way we're seeing, we're seeing so much now, and it's just come on so quickly. I can almost guarantee that, yeah, we're seeing more of the Omicron variant.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things, Julie. In terms of the severities at the hospitals, the people that we're seeing on ventilation, artificial respiratory machines, are we seeing a new influx of those? Or is these just longer term patients that have been there for a while?
I'm not really sure. I'll have to clarify with Bob on that. I'll let you know.
That's a piece of information we need to get a little bit more in depth on and make sure that we're getting out too, because I think it tells kind of a story of where we're at with things. Neither way, it's not good, don't get me wrong, but I think there's viable information that people need to understand about that. The second one, in terms of the guidance with the schools, who's all involved in that conversation? And with this new guidance, it's not really streamlined and efficient. It's bits and pieces here and there, and it's causing a lot of confusion, particularly with parents at this point in time. And I really don't have an answer for them, and we really need to get a solid answer for them.
Yeah, it's been very confusing, especially when CDC comes out with that guidance right after Christmas. It's hard to deal with around the holidays. And so we've been relying on KDHE to come up with written guidance to share out with the schools, and they have yet to do that. But they have said as of last week that they are going to follow the new CDC guidance. So what we've done with the schools is worked with them, the nurses mainly, to try to make it more streamlined so that it's easier to understand. And we finally have some really good written guidance out for all of the schools to follow that is definitely more streamlined. And I think we're still following the guidance. I'm sorry.
It's not 100% the schools, it's also daycare. Yeah. And we have a struggle with daycare to start with, just in general, under the best of circumstances. Are they all closed until the 17th, 8th? I know we have the issue up at College Hill, got that, but I'm getting the information that others have closed too, and it's because of the same guidelines, not because of the same guidelines. I'm really not clear on it.
So the daycares are following the same guidelines that we set in place for months, and not the new CDC guidance. We haven't seen anything out for the daycare settings. So they're sticking with the old guidance. We haven't changed that. And yes, unfortunately, several have decided to close based on not having staff or too many kids out. And that's usually, the closures are usually the daycares themselves saying they want to close.
Okay, well, that clarifies it a little bit, but didn't really solve anything at this point in time. So, okay, I guess for the moment, that's really all I have. I wish you the best of luck in trying to find an alternate site for the KDHE testing. And actually, speaking on testing, this will be my last question. I'm hearing a lot of facilities here locally are running out of tests. Where does that leave us long term? I know we're okay for the moment, but where is that going to leave us long term?
Yeah, we're okay for the moment, but we're actively searching for a new line of testing. Jenny has ordered some tests, hopefully coming in the next few days, about 500. But we're just trying to keep up with the demand right now. And yeah, like you said, we're okay right now, but it's a matter of time before our supplies are run out. So we're actively searching for other methods or other ways to get tests.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's basically all I've got at the moment.
Going back to the daycare thing though, because There had been questions brought up last week. The CDC has said 5 days, but KDHE still says 10. Is that correct?
For daycare settings, yeah.
That,
Yeah, KDHE hasn't sent out new guidance for the daycares or congregate settings, so we're still waiting on that. So yeah, it's still 10 days for them.
that just makes things worse when people hear two different rules from two different people. It's been that way all a lot of things through this. Which causes a lot of the questions. I think the fact that nobody can get on the same page.
Just
KDHE is
yeah,
not been helpful.
it's been very slow and methodical at best on a lot of different things there. In terms of, take a moment, Julie, just while you're here and define what the congregate settings actually are all defined as.
So that would be like your long-term care facilities, and they lump, well, for this one, they're lumping the daycares in there as well. So yeah, but when we talk about that, it's usually like the long-term care facilities.
Yeah, I have a hard time. I have a hard time defining those two as the same thing, unfortunately. But then again, I guess I don't have kids in daycare, so maybe. Yeah, right. Okay, that kind of clarifies that at least a little bit. Okay.
So that's the KDHE definition.
Correct.
Whether or not there's anything else involved in that.
It's being very disruptive to people at this particular point in time, particularly when they're not just following isolation, quarantine, they're just actually closing for an extended period of time. It's going to put parents in a position where they have to choose jobs and careers over taking care of their kids. And it's a poison in the left arm or a poison in the right arm at the end of the day. Okay. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Anyone else on? Vivian, did you have anything?
No, I just wanted to make sure I was here in case you had questions.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Public comment. Go to commissioner comments. So Catherine.
Oh, okay.
Surprise!
Friday, I attended the funeral of a close friend and visited with the family. Met with a potential contractor at my house later in the day. And then I also, later in the evening, learned of the death of a patient in the hospital for COVID. He had been in there since December. And I know the family well through my connections with Common Cable. And it includes 3 young children under 5. So I know a lot of people will be working to help the family going forward. It's a really bad situation. But anyway, Saturday went to Dover with some friends for lunch in the best pie place in the world.
One of.
Had a really good piece pie too. Later I watched the Chiefs football game, which was really fun to watch. They pulled it out. So Sunday I went to church, reviewed documents for today's meeting. Had problems with getting into my email because I was supposed to change my password, which didn't say that. So I was just kind of strange, but I got it fixed today. Also went to the gym for needed exercise and finished putting away a lot of Christmas decorations and getting things organized for the year. So that's about it.
I'm next.
Yeah.
Okay. Just shifting right around here. Okay. Thursday morning post meeting, I met with Gary Fike, Riley County Extension Director, to discuss in more depth the recently developed Rural Economic Development Advisory Board. Need to shorten that. Need to shorten that. We won't be changing the resolution. Need to shorten that.
You can use an acronym, you know.
I guess that's REDAD. AD. Red Deb? Okay, that's what we're going to go with from now on. Looks like as of Thursday, we do have 4 actual applications on file. You put that in the 3 positions that are already kind of looped in there with the resolution, although I did realize one of those 4 is technically one of the other 3. So, but my point is we technically would conceivably have a working committee with the quorum at this point if we so choose to go ahead and appoint those positions, or we can wait. It doesn't matter either way, but we're I just wanted to point out that we're moving forward with that. And continue to talk. You mentioned you left some applications up in Randolph, okay, or Leonardville, or both.
And
Okay,
then this week we ride.
okay. So it sounds like we're moving forward pretty quickly with that, which is great. And all the talk I seem to be having with people are very engaged with this board and very excited that we're doing this. And that's fantastic. So Thursday afternoon, I had a January Zoom call with Flint Hills Mental Health Task Force. One of the topics of discussion were a community mental health CSU crisis stabilization unit report, along with an RCPD, I'm struggling with those this morning, and Pawnee Mental Health co-responder report from Kelsey Harwood. She was sitting in for Bryn, who's out of the country currently. Also got a quarterly report from Maggie Rassett at Ascension Via Christi. You can probably imagine adding to the chaos in the hospitals is people showing up there for that. That's increased significantly. So it's part of the strain. And then Robin Cole from Pawnee Mental Health gave us an update on state and local mental health items to finish the call. We'll once again, that's bi-monthly. So we'll meet again in March to discuss some of the things further. Thursday evening, I met with Barry Wilkerson, Riley County attorney, to discuss a couple of law and judicial related items, as well as the Indigent Defense Panel. Bounce a few thoughts and ideas of my own around in terms of the hiring process for the new RCPD director, as well as the Riley County Law Board. Appreciate you taking time out of what's a very busy schedule right now to meet and chat with me on those items. Basically, over the weekend, watched quite a bit of NFL football. Watched part of the K-State West Virginia game. I just don't know on that.
Same story.
Yeah, I just don't know on that. Shorthanded once again. We're on the road. Played really scrappy. Somewhere here, we've got to put some things together in conference play, or it's going to be really not fun. But on a separate note, kudos to the girls. Won against West Virginia. Score didn't indicate, but they played a pretty solid game. They're 13-2 and 3-0 in the conference. So excitement there.
I think they were a little short-handed, weren't they?
They were down a couple of people, yeah. But man, they look really good. I mean, really
Two
good.
freshmen that are really
Yeah,
looks
they look
amazing.
really, really good. I don't know if I want to go to the comparisons of the early 2000s there with Nicole Oldie and Wecker and Lori Kane, but I don't know. We'll see. It could be fun. Could be fun there. So that's basically about it for me. So.
Well, Thursday afternoon, I spent most of the afternoon on the phone. Called North Central Regional Council, since Riley County abuts 3 of their counties, and they've been very successful. I talked to John Sear, who's their interim director. He retired several years ago, but then the next one also left. So he's going back in while they hire a new one. It was a good conversation. I've got lots more comments later on that. And then Thursday afternoon, I also looked into the situation with the University Park sewer system. Talked to John Ellerman and KDHE to get more information about what the problems are and what will be required in the future. That's going to be some work there to get things straightened out. And you said a lot of NFL football and K-State basketball this weekend.
Yeah, yesterday was just nuts for the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they're playing Steelers.
But
It's gonna be a tough game.
that's all I had. So we can start some business meeting.
First item, need a motion to approve Riley County CIP amendment form for additional funds for the tandem axle trucks as presented to and approved by the commission on December 30th, 2020.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the amended CIB projects for the tandem axle trucks.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the CIP funds for the additional funds for the tandem axle trucks. All those in favor?
Chairman side, please.
So do some hand exercises over the weekend, get the fingers loosened up.
Practice my signature. I can make it even scribbly.
Oh, okay.
It's quicker now.
Well, Rich's is
Illegible.
getting pretty bad. I can hardly read your signature, Rich.
But he can use a stamp when he wants to.
Oh, I don't. Next, I need a motion to approve the Weiser residential sewer grinder pump agreement.
Go ahead and make a motion.
Bit of question, Clancy. On that, I assume that goes with the property, not just with the owners.
Usually that's what they do. Now, I don't know on this one. Craig's the one who actually worked on this. If you have some more questions, I'll get him down here. before you sign
I
it.
tried reading through it, but some lawyer wrote it, so I couldn't follow.
Yeah. Some lawyer wrote it because they needed to, so let me, if you want, before you sign it, I can get him down.
Just,
here.
I assume that that's what it need to be to carry on,
Normally,
continue
if
that
that's the
property.
case, it would make a reference to that in the document, but I haven't even looked at it. So I don't want to guess. Let me get Craig down here.
Those grinder pumps, I know we had one at my house in Cataracts, and they were always having trouble with that. So it kind of concerns me that, that these people might have a lot more problems with it than what they're anticipating. So it would be good to know. It says that that they will take care of it. So we'll continue into the future. So that would be
Yeah.
good to know if that's,
Good.
it goes with the property.
Can we table that so Craig clarifies that? Is that all right?
We didn't really make a motion, so we just come back to
Or
it.
just postpone it then?
Okay, next item, Flint Hills Regional Council letter. Need a motion?
Go ahead and make a motion that we sign the, let's see here. Looked at these for a while. Go ahead and make a motion that we sign the resignation letter for the Flint Hills Regional Council.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to sign the letter of resignation from the Flint Hills Regional Council. All's in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner sign, please.
Resignation of Raleigh County.
Three. Ooh, almost started off. Ooh, that would've been bad.
What's that? We're just gonna oversee
That's kind
the
of,
whole county,
that's kind
right?
of vague, that is true.
Craig's down.
Oh, good.
Did you want to ask Craig?
We go back to.
Yeah.
We had some questions on that grinder pump agreement.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to be down here in a timely fashion and I was having my head in a file.
Is that an acronym for something? Because even that one got past me.
What's that?
Of course, a lot of things have this morning. So
What's that?
Is that a figurative or literal?
What is?
Head in the file.
It
Well,
was.
that turned out funnier
It
than I
was,
was anticipating.
that was figuratively, yes, yes. You have some questions about that?
The question was,
Must be
this,
fun.
this grinder pump agreement, it's with the owners, but does it continues if they sell the property? Is it-
Right. I mean, the structure of the entire document is that it follows the property.
Okay.
Yes.
I tried to read it, and just, I needed a translation.
Right. Well, and they approached the county kind of late in the project. I mean, not real late, but late enough. And their situation, I mean, they're really outside the subdivision, but it was close. And so they're actually kind of down in a holler. So they needed a pump to pump up to the sewer system. And yeah, the agreement is structured so that whoever buys the property assumes that responsibility also.
I have another question that I forgot to ask. On the notary for the owners, I've never seen an appointment that says indefinite for a notary. What is that all about?
Well, and I really can't explain that. I saw that too. The Weisers, Mr. Weiser works for the federal government and he's some kind of civil employee and he's stationed in Germany. And so that's a notary that was done in Germany. And
Is that legal?
As long as it notarizes his signatures, that's gonna be acceptable.
It
Sure.
says military notary
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean,
stamp.
right,
Oh, I
Stamp
don't see a
says military
stamp.
notary.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Military
Oh,
notary.
okay.
That comes through on the-
yeah, okay, it's kind of weird, so.
That was the 480.
This agreement has had a tortured existence. We got it back one time and they didn't notarize it, so we had to send it back a second time. This is the
Okay.
second time it's back. And so, yeah, Richard Gerard, I should have mentioned it. It's a military notary, but yeah, it actually took place in Germany where he's at. So,
Office of the Staff Judges Advocate, U.S. Army,
yeah,
military notary.
yeah. So it will be fine. I never seen one stamped on the back of a page. So that was kind of interesting.
Let's see, so,
Take care of everybody's.
okay, what is that? I move the board approve the Wiser residential sewer grinder pump agreement as explained.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Wiser residential sewer grinder pump agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It has, it needs chairman's signature. It does have John's name there, but needs chairman's sign.
Yeah, we mailed this out to Germany like in September of last year and just now got it back. So
There'll be a few documents probably like that here. It's got weeks.
Careful getting this up on first.
thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks. Need a motion to approve proclamation for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Celebration and Day of Service Proclamation.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the proclamation for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Community Celebration and Day of Service Proclamation.
I would second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the proclamation for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Day of Service. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign, please. There you go. No pay increase with that. Great. Morning, Josh. Morning, John. Next, I need a motion to approve tax roll corrections.
I'll make a motion to approve the tax roll corrections.
I would second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the tax roll corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Chairman, please.
I thought I was waiting for it.
Next, I need a motion on shared leave request form.
Go ahead and make a motion that we approve the shared request leave form.
I do have a question on that. It says that this person, medical, it's not working now. It says last physical day of work will be 11/16/21, which was the day of, that the medical condition began.
Mhm.
So,
That's why he's using the shared leave, because he's used all of his own leave at this point in time.
Okay.
So this is actually made up for longer term leave. So if somebody has leave and they can use it, they can move it over to somebody who's there long term.
Oh, okay, it's sharing it. Okay, I
Yep.
see. Okay. I didn't quite understand that, but then I'll second that.
To Been moved and seconded to approve the Riley County Shared Leave Request Form. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resign, please.
I'll get to you guys in a minute.
He's just making his way.
I make a motion, we're exempt from Clancy's discussion. Yeah.
So I apologize. Did you have any questions about the shared leave request?
I already asked the question.
That was one I could actually answer.
Habits. I'm marking the chair.
Uh-oh,
Yeah,
you
you're
did.
fired.
Did-
Yeah, that's how it works. You're done.
Okay. Here you
No,
go.
it goes to Catherine. It didn't even go to me. I go all the way to the bottom. It goes to her now. Okay. Yeah, that-
Okay. We have to have an adjustment with sign things, I guess.
You gotta have a sun on the bottom line again. on
Yeah.
that one.
Next, Raleigh County Personnel Action Forms, Tim Pfizer, for promotion paramedic EMS ambulance department, Lindsay Flores for promotions lead secretary charging in the county attorney's office, Ryan Norvica, EMT MS ambulance separation of service, and Deborah Register, separation of service. All three, please.
Debbie's leaving us again, huh?
Again,
Yeah.
This is final time, huh?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say.
Talking to her, yeah, I think so, yeah.
I thought that a couple other times.
We may have to do a jump people, like the university does.
Have them do a what?
Adjunct.
Well, we're excited because we do have a really great full-time replacement for that position. I mean, obviously not with Debbie's years of experience, but we think it's gonna be a really good fit in the office.
Good.
Percentage.
Yeah, these spreadsheets get a little big and a little hard to see on modified screen. Ready, commissioners?
You can go if you want.
So, all right, go ahead, Rich.
Okay, first reports, 2021 year-to-date wages and overtime compared to budget. Of course, for 2021, upper right-hand corner, we are at 100% point in time of the year. Just commissioners, remember there are still encumbrances that the expenditures can be applied against the 2021 figures, and we will update those periodically as we get those. But this here is for wages and salaries. You can see the departments where they ended up on the far right-hand side. All of those, of course, are in the general fund. And so don't have to worry about budget violations on any of those. Just a couple of them went just a little bit over what was budgeted. Show the center column, the percentage of overtime compared to regular wages. Of course, the one that stands out is the EMS ambulance at 61.72%. Of course, overwhelming majority of that is scheduled overtime due to their 24/7 shift work. Overall, in overtime, we're at 6.71%. Commissioners have any questions on that first page? Next pages, next spreadsheets are just a little bit more detailed breakdown of the respective departments, regular salary, seasonal, temporary, and overtime. give the commission a little bit more detail on where those monies got spent per month and per quarter. Any questions on those reports? Next is a 2021 year-to-date activity. Of course, once again, we're at that 100%. Those highlighted in blue or those on the first page have exceeded. Once again, those are all in the general fund. Those are not a budget violation. It'd only be a budget violation if the total at the very bottom had exceeded 100%. Of course, Tammy does a great job of keeping an eye on any potential budget violations at the end of the year, and that's why we do those budget amendments at the end of each year. Always like to point out general, which is just under information systems, ended up at 38.19%, which is atypically low compared to the rest of the budgets due to the budget stabilization amount that we do have budgeted in there. Overall, we're at 85.9%. Any questions on that first page? Next page, of course, at the end of the year, as I said, Tammy, keep an eye on those budget amendments. None are highlighted in the blue because we do have those budget amendments at the end of the year. Any questions on that second page? Next page is all enterprise funds. Those are funds that are receive their monies from individuals that own property or live in those benefit districts. So no general ad valorem taxes are used on any of these. Any questions on those? Next report's a little bit more detailed breakdown of the 2021 county general. You can see in the personnel went tilt on those. It's just hard to predict and know who's going to retire at the end of each year, and that's just kind of how it goes. Some employees do let us know ahead of time, but generally not a year and a half amount of time ahead of time to where we can budget for it. So some do, but some do not. So it's always our best guesstimate based on previous year's activity. And also we do budget a little bit more when we know we do have a group that has more that have met that criteria that are eligible to, but it's still a guess. Miscellaneous budget stabilization amount I referred to earlier is why this percentage is atypically low, generally at $3,050,000. Any questions on that page, commissioners? Next page is a comparison of 2020 to 2021 expenditures through December, and then year to date, December to December, then year to date. A report commissioners had asked for by now decades ago, just to kind of see a comparison from one year to the next, which of course I always use election as a result, isn't always an apples to apples comparison. Any questions on any of those pages, commissioners? Next report's RCPD expenses paid by Riley County in 2021. I always am going through these reports, pay close attention to anything medically related for inmates. Of course, the budget appropriation at the amount is the only one that is a shared expenditure with the city of Manhattan. All the rest of the expenditures are paid by Riley County as an entity, 100%. City does not pay any of those. I like this next report a little bit better. It gives a better snapshot of where we compare from 2015, 2020, 21. You can see towards the upper right-hand corner, at 191,373, we're atypically high. We've had a couple inmates due to very high prescription costs that have cost us a lot. Once again, we can only do our best guesstimate based on previous years, and these last 2 years have been high, and this year was really high. But regardless of that, and I think this will probably come up potentially with the new city commission, RCPD expenditures. Regardless of that, the statute says Riley County shall pay those costs 100%. The city pays none of it. Any questions on that?
On the water and electric, why was it zero?
Previous years.
Yeah, from previous years.
That's for the fire and range.
Oh, the
So
fire.
we didn't
Oh, okay.
have those costs before that.
Yep, new firing range does have better services for sure.
Yeah, and where have the costs for office supplies gone? You know, we haven't had any since from 20 or 21, and there's total for it.
So that's like printer, toners and things at the jail that they purchase, and that's not something that they purchase all the time, so
Well, you think they'd purchase some in 2-year period.
But that's our responsibility, and ACH is actually the one that bills us for that. So, and I don't know how ACH determines that it's our turn to pay it, because probably there are other things we have spent against that besides just inmate.
And that's only medically related. We don't do all of their office supplies for the entire organization. This is only medically related to the inmates.
Just in the jail.
And the ACH is Advanced Correctional Healthcare. That's why.
Okay, I was thinking it was really low for the whole police department.
Yeah, correct.
That's
Correct. No, it's only medically related.
okay.
Any other questions? Good question. Next report is the breakdown of Advanced Correctional Healthcare's cost. You can see highlighted in the red. You can see the far left at first, our pool balance is 31,000. We went 21,474 over that. That is because of those prescription costs. I guess one thing I skipped over, I'd like to point out the updated, Tammy did some research, and we do have the savings for Medicare rate updated at 146,616. You can see that's a significant savings. In 2020, it was 100,410.16. So that's almost right, just under $250,000 in the last 2 years. Significant savings. They have been doing that all along, as you can tell. They just have not been reporting it, and so Tammy's watching it. So hopefully they keep reporting it more regularly, and we'll have it on this report. Any questions on that? You can say the ADP on there very high right now, 98. Any questions, commissioners?
I do have a comment, though. I heard that one of the commissioners in the city has said that the taxpayers are being paying over, the 100%, but he was saying that 80% of the city and 20% is from us, and that the citizens were being paid double, are paying double. That's not true, because it's a total of 100%. And I just wanted to make sure that the public knew that they aren't being, city people are not being paid more, are not paying more for RCPD than the 20%, pay 100%.
And actually, if you want to be technical about it, the formula probably is wrong at this point in
Yeah.
time. It probably should be closer to 85-15%. When you think about rural services and how all that
Well,
works.
yeah, the service, the rule doesn't have an officer within a mile or two. of
Each
the
three,
house.
including the city, the county, and RCPD, have all done their own private studies on that, and it shows it to be closer to 85-15. So if there ever was a change needed, that would be the direction we would go instead of the other way.
But the citizens are not paying over 100%. So that's just a comment that I wanted to make.
I think this year both sides will get every opportunity to discuss that in length.
Sure.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you. Commissioner, want to try and do the minutes, or you want to wait for?
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We're looking for minutes. Back up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And 6. I had a question on the on item 9, Rich. Looks like you kind of sent stuff that talks about how they have to have their stuff turned in by August 31st and October 1st, 21. That extending the incentive program. it doesn't hurt anything, but it doesn't. You know, at the end, it's talking about stuff that's gone past.
Right, yeah, I think she was just putting in there the policy as it was, because that's how it was discussed, yeah.
Okay, page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Motion.
Go ahead and make a motion that we approve the minutes from the Riley County Commission meeting scheduled January 6th, 2022.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the January 6th, 2022 meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Have the tentative agendas look, commissioners? Good. Any items for next week's press conference? Next, it is time for a minutes and order.
Great. Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Webb, Planning Director. Let's see, so I am here this morning for our public hearing to rename a private road off of Tuttle Cove Road. Again, rename, readdress. This is one we've been working on for some time, so you folks should be familiar with it. This is the last step in the process, the public hearing, and of course, the decision by you folks with the resolution actually make the change. Just a reminder, the committee, the NG 911 committee had proposed Tuttle Cove Lane. Then we received a petition from all of the property owners to use the name Hyoville Place. And again, all of the property owners signed that and were in favor of that. So we received that petition and the NG 911 committee reviewed and were in support of that. So they have been readdressed, they're proposed off of Hyoville Place. So that's what we have. Again, we've done the initial notification and then the certified notices to each property owner, and we're at our final step here. One comment just to make that the committee will need to discuss going forward is paying for certain parts of this process. As you know, of course, we have to send letters certified, which we do. And then, of course, there are publishing and filing fees for the resolution itself. And then, of course, the signage for when we actually approve and change the name out there. In the past, for the last few years since we've been doing this, emergency management has been paying for the filing and publishing fees, and then planning and development pays for the postage, and then the 911 fund pays for the signage. Emergency management did not budget for the publishing and filing fees, and of course neither did planning and development, since that's how we've been doing it. So for this one, just so we can keep it moving, planning and development will pay for the costs of the postage, the publication, and the filing, and of course the 911 fund will still pay for the signage. So that's something that the committee needs to discuss moving forward, just how we're going to do that. It's not a huge cost, and again, it's unknown each time what it's going to be. It of course depends on how many property owners there are on the street, et cetera. We're also amending our letter. We actually did that with this one to allow people to opt out of certified hard copy letters and allow us to send them an email instead. So that's something we're exploring, just to maybe save on a little bit of cost. We would still get that. Basically, if we had somebody opt into receiving it via email, we would send with a read receipt. So that would be our confirmation that they received their letter, much like the notification we receive when we send something certified through the mail. So again, just a little bit of information on the kind of the background of the process. Excuse me, with this one, we did do that pre-notification letter as we originally talked about, which gave them a little bit of a heads up before we said, hey, here's your new address, here's your new road. We think that worked a little bit better, so we're going to keep going on with that process. So folks will receive 3 letters total, through the process, just as we go along here. So again, that pre-notification, just to be aware, here's what we're doing, here's why, here's what's coming up. And then, of course, we dive right into the actual notification where here's the name we're proposing and your proposed address. And then once we get past that one, there's a 30-day comment period for folks. And once we get past that, of course, we schedule the public hearing with you folks, and then we send out another letter letting folks know about that date. So again, just a little bit of background with that, since we haven't chatted on some of that in a while. So just wanted to give you a heads up. So again, at least for now, we're doing the public hearing, or at least for today, we're doing the public hearing on the proposed Heil Bell Place. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
No. As part of the public hearing, we do need to at least open it up for the public.
So open up a public hearing for the renaming the roads. Anyone here for that? Comments?
If you would come up to the podium and state your name.
More of a question.
Okay,
I do have a question. So
can you state your name?
yeah, sorry, Jason Ellis, I'm resident at 5761 Tuttle Cove. But my question is the numbering portion of the name change. The name change makes sense to designate the specific private road off to the side, but the numbering component to me seems confusing. I think it's based on the east-west proximity within the county rather than the north-south. But if you have a 911 vehicle traveling up the road, the numbers would progress following the numbers of those that are residents on the road. But then they get to a spot where there's a set of boxes that then have these 39 numbers, as opposed to then going on to like a 58 or a 59 that's on north beyond our road. So for us, that seems there's maybe a confusion as somebody's trying to travel up the roads that you're, 51, 52s, 54s, 56s, 39s, 58s, 59s as you're traveling up the road. So that was a question. I realized the relevance because it's going east-west on that component. But from a confusion perspective, it just seems like that might be a function. But
unfortunately, as you can see, Sherry, our GIS isn't able to be here this morning. Of course, she's the one who does all that. I don't know if any of the other emergency folks can have any input on that to help explain some of that.
I thought we'd had a discussion about that, actually. We discussed that is even though it's northwest going to part of it, it's still the east. So we wanted to keep it consistent with the change.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, essentially.
I think probably address the confusion. Somebody from emergency said, is this going to be confusing? Not confusing?
a couple weeks ago, a truck had to come up on a road and went past the road and looking for our numbers anyway, so.
Josh Gary, EMS ambulance. Yeah, I can't speak too eloquently about this specific example other than a desire from our perspective to maintain some consistency with the GIS grid system. Where we spend a fair amount of time in our employee onboarding and training, familiarizing ourselves with that grid and knowing which way to look based on north-south travel or east-west travel. So that the numerics give us some indication of what side of the road to be looking for. Is that a fair answer? I can certainly come back with more. I'd be happy to dialogue offline as well.
No, and if your location services are more based off the GIS data,
Correct.
those functions of north, south,
They
east,
are.
west, that makes sense.
Okay.
It's just from a logic perspective of where we live, discussion, followed up the numbers and then.
It is a tricky
Yeah.
one for sure, and I believe there was quite a bit of discussion held by our committee to make sure that it was consistent with the gridding and an earnest effort at logical sense. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
Yep.
I thought we'd had that discussion on this one.
Russell Stuckey, Emergency Management and Fire. Josh is exactly right. And then the other thing is we won't be paying any attention to the numbers on Total Cove Road. They won't mean anything to us. It's the numbers on Oval Place that'll make a difference to us. And so that it also tells us kind of what area of the county we're in. So if there ever was another similar road, we'd know it wasn't in this portion of the county, it was in this portion of the county because of the grading, like Josh said.
Thank you.
Did that clear up what you need?
No, I was just curiosity, the residents on the road were kind of confused by the change of numbering. We got the relevance of the name change for the specific road itself.
If it's appropriate, I'd be happy to put that in a better answer. for you.
Oh, no, I understand. Makes sense.
If there's no other questions, guess we'll close the public hearing. Motion. Questions?
Is there anything anybody needed to add?
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the private road naming to Hayable Place and to readjust it up. And yeah, I guess that's it. Is that how you pronounce it, Hayable?
I believe it's Hyoville.
Hayable, I like it.
Hyoville.
We also need to,
Let it pronounce the new road name.
I just don't say it. Motion.
it does, it says
Motion.
recommendation down
The
there.
recommendation, okay. Okay, make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to proceed with the private road renaming and readdressing as presented in the resolution.
I'll second that motion.
So moved and seconded to approve the private road renaming and readdressing as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All three sign, please. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah, how doing, guys?
And commissioners, so you know, Greg McClure will not be at the press conference.
It says me on there, but that's actually great.
Whereas
This is actually pretty standard.
this is,
Yeah.
some of those have gotten.
Sam, how you doing?
It's kind of back.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep. And just go through.
Talk afterwards.
Actually, I think you send it back to Rich.
Excuse me?
In a copy. They keep that.
Yeah, give them a copy. Yep. Yep. We have a copy. Or an original. That's why we had this guy sign too, that we present one to them. How you doing? Good morning. Correct, regular clerk. Will not be here for the press conference.
See, Barbara. Kevin.
He's on his way. He says he'll be here. I just
Okay.
checked my text, so.
Okay. Oh,
if you
okay,
can-
we'll hold off for a second.
Yeah, if you
Get
can
here.
delay.
Yeah, we can, yeah, that's fine. I just wanted, I didn't want
That
to.
works perfect for me because I need to get taken care of real quick, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
Thank you. I was scrambling, trying to think, okay, what would Kevin say? Can I get my words together quick? But I appreciate you.
That's about it. He was on the way. I didn't want to.
He is, he said, I'll be there.
Okay.
Morning. Morning. Yeah.
Yes. This is proclamation for the Dr. Martin Luther King celebration and day of service.
Yes.
We have Suzanne Glymore and Kevin Bryant. Gleamore, I'm sorry.
It's not obvious.
Read the proclamation for you here. Whereas January 17th, 2022 marks the observance of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Federal Holiday and Service Day established by public law number 98144 in 1983. And whereas this King Holiday and Service Act highlights remembrance and celebration and encourages people everywhere to reflect on the principles of nonviolent social change, racial equality, community and humanitarian service, and interracial cooperation. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas celebrating Dr. King's life and spirit through community-wide recognition and service on the King holiday is an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, bringing our citizens together and strengthen our communities and nation. And whereas it is appropriate for the Riley County to support a community celebration and observance of the King holiday and day of service honoring Dr. Martin Luther King. And whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our communities better with increased opportunity for all our citizens. And now, therefore, we, the County Commission of Riley County, Kansas, do hereby proclaim January 15th through the 17th, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Celebration and Day of Service in Riley County, Kansas, and urge all people to join and pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and apply his life and teachings of service to inspire others to serve and remember our spirit of community. In witness thereof, we hereunto set our hands and cause the seal of January to be affixed this Monday, January 10th, 2022. You guys like to comment or?
Yes,
Let us know what's going on that day.
yes. Thank you very much. I totally have to appreciate what the county does in behalf of Martin Luther King. The basis of this community is solid. We invest in diversity and equity. We've had a fantastic year. 17th Street was renamed Martin Luther King Drive. The Douglas Center is open according and with the other two recreation centers in the community. We always get a fantastic turnout from the community as far as our art writing contest, and we're happy to be part of not only this county but the city and how proud you guys make us being part of this community's Martin Luther King celebration. Of course, this year we've had losses this year. Last year was Richard Pitts. It was nice to see that his work was continued through Manhattan High School. They had a group that went to the Smithsonian talking about what Mr. Pitts' initiatives. We're going to miss Lynetta Hill this year. She's just passed. And of course, Cheryl Collins at the Historical Society. An amazing resource, not only for our committee, but for the community. And we thank you in the community for what you've done. And I'll have Suzanne talk a little bit about the art and writing contest.
Hello. So we are continuing with the art and writing contest, even though we're online. We have continued, and every year for the contest, we choose some words of Dr. King's as our theme, because we believe that his words and his wisdom are as relevant and as resonant today as they were when he spoke them. So for this year's theme, we had the following quote: "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." And we had phenomenal entries that really took those words to heart and thought about what they mean on the surface, but what they really mean in a much more profound and deeper level for individuals as well as for communities. So we were really excited about everyone's participation, and we invite everyone to look at the website and follow us on Facebook, because that's where we will post those things and announce the winners and also display the entries and the names of folks who participated. And we're just grateful that everyone does participate. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that'll be on the 15th on our Facebook page. We'll debut live our Spirit Award winners, also the art and writing contest winners. And then on the 17th, that Monday is prayer breakfast, will be the AME minister from right here in Manhattan. And then on the 25th, Hands-on K-State will be doing their volunteer program.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for all.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you guys doing.
Thank you.
Next, Commissioners, you have Greg Cox at 9:45. You pinch it.
I am.
9:45. Go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Clancy Holman, not Craig Cox, Deputy County Council. Just wanted to present this on behalf of Craig. This is a resolution which basically we have to have under the statute. The Counselor's Office has to have, it's your specific authorization to move forward with the next tax sale. The petition cannot be filed in that case until this is done. And it does give some background about the current state of the number of parcels. I would be very surprised if we end up with 108 tracts by the time the sale comes up. Because that's when very often what we get are some of those will be redeemed prior to sale. One of the unique aspects of a of a tax foreclosure rather than a standard mortgage foreclosure is redemption happens before the property is lost by the current owner, not afterward. And so up until the day of sale, people are able, those with an interest in the property or the owner really would be normally this would be, can come in and pay the amount of the past year's taxes in order to get out of the sale. But if they don't do that prior to the day of sale, which has not yet been set officially, sometime in the spring or summer, what will happen is that they have to compete against everybody else at the sale, just like they cannot end up with the property unless they're going to win it against basically the entire world, whoever's bidding at that time. Be glad to try and answer any questions you've got as a result of this document. If you don't have questions, I would just ask you to please go ahead and approve the resolution.
Pretty standard. Yeah, it's pretty standard stuff. It's been going on for a few years now. So good thing.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we authorize the resolution for the real estate tax foreclosure sale.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution authorizing the real estate tax foreclosure sale. All those in favor?
Aye.
All three sign, please.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nancy. Commissioner, do you have discussion on board? The board is on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fingers aren't working today.
You bet.
Yeah. Yes. Agenda board discussion. I assume that's the
Board of County Commissioners on board assignments.
on board. So, okay.
The board matter that Catherine brought up last week.
I don't know if anybody else had a chance to look over these things. I know. I assume usually it's just you get on one and you stay for your term. Is that?
I would say each one of them work a little bit differently, and it's probably kind of how intricately involved you are with some boards as well. While I do like the idea, I went back through mine and I realized I've got mine pretty strategically scheduled, and I kind of need to in order to be able to both accomplish those and everything else I need to do. So it's pretty in line. So if I'm trading, I got to be trading one that's similar both in time and date, or it's unfortunately not going to work for me. There's two that will probably be off the list for me currently. One of them would be the MPO, just because I'm serving as chair currently, and it would be tough for Stephanie to work on that one on the fly. And I am on the board of directors for Pawnee and serving on finance committee, and we don't have a whole lot of new members on that to fill that one out fully. So those two would be really difficult at this point, but yeah.
And to answer Greg's question is, yeah, typically, when a commissioner comes on board, they kind of see which ones they want to be involved in and have a high interest in and get assigned to. But every once in a while, there'll be, someone says, hey, would you rather? But it's atypical for it to change much very frequently, that's for sure.
I understand that, but I also understand Catherine's point that it gives us more knowledge to be on.
Different
to
boards, right.
Switch on different boards to see what's going on in different places, even though we just kind of make our reports about what's been going on.
Mhm. Well, I think it's good for the boards too, to have new
Yeah.
blood on it and, different ideas and that kind of thing. And I know when I came on, I just kind of took over Ron Wells, and I found out two of them weren't even meeting anymore, so it kind of made it.
Well, that's what one.
That was kind of strange.
One of mine had one meeting, that Wildcat Creek watershed.
Oh, yeah.
resident, we had one meeting and that was their last one. But,
Yeah.
so,
And like solid waste committee had been done for, they met one time since I've been on, and that's not very active.
Yeah, some of those, may meet monthly, some of those may meet quarterly.
Yeah.
I think there's a few of them that, do meet once a year, or maybe as needed or as called upon. It's just different dynamics with each one of them. Most of mine are monthly, except with the exception of the local emergency planning committee. That one is quarterly.
Yeah, I think that, if this pandemic keeps up, we're going to have to all be involved in a lot of the,
If.
So I don't, what have you looked at, Greg, that you would like to switch out?
Nothing in particular. The one thing I noted in looking back that it says Board of Health meets quarterly.
We meet whenever.
And also when the health presents monthly, is there a quarterly?
No, that's technically the monthly meeting that we have. That's when she comes in here to give up an update.
Yeah.
We obviously move over to the Board of County Health, and then it's that, and then everything else is just separate.
Okay, because there isn't
Am I right on that, Clancy?
I mean,
That's a statutory requirement.
Yeah, you can, well, it isn't really, that's not a statutory requirement. That's one that the board sets itself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there is a regular quarter. Yeah. I was just I was going through these.
Yeah.
To see what we had.
Typically, I consider that meeting the meeting when she comes in here to give us a monthly update.
Okay.
And the chamber board, is that normally the chair that sits on that, the ex officio?
No, it's always been pretty much this. Ben had served on that before. David served on that before, and Mike had served on that before. I don't think there is any that's
Like you and I are still on the law board.
right.
Another year.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
Yeah. Mental health task force, that's the one that you're.
Yeah, and I'm on the CIT as well.
In addition to the funding.
Yeah, I kind of they kind of fall in line together. Now, that's one if actually, oh no, we can't. I was gonna say, that's one where you could get, you could technically get more than one, but we can't do that because of COVID. So two of us technically had to be on that call.
It's like an NPO, I was designated as the alternate, but I can't go to the meeting.
Right.
You're not there.
Right.
Like I say, the other ones I've got then for that. John's favorite, North Central Kansas Regional Juvenile Detention Facility and Secure Facility.
Want to say that again?
In the NVAF, in the NVAF liaison group, which actually meets next day or two. I've got that calendar. And military relations, Flint Hills veterans, I'd like to keep that one. Like I say, I'd like to keep all, but I understand that each of us, trading off. And I don't know which ones you got, because the Flint Hills, which you said is another time.
Yeah, the
One is
Flint
done.
Hills Regional
It's
Council
done.
was very time consuming.
But the ATA sounds interesting. to me.
ATA is a good, interesting one. I don't know if you'd like to try ATA for something.
For, I don't know.
I mean,
I know at one time you said something about military relations. I don't know if you want to.
Oh, $20.
What? Oh, it's fun.
military
It
wasn't crickets in here, not this time.
Yeah, I
Not-
should
not this
do
year.
military relations, that would be. a
Switch
good
that
one.
rate.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would just love.
So who's gonna do what now?
We're trading military relations for.
You're on that?
For the
Yeah, that's the one
ATA.
I'm on. This, for the ATA board.
Yeah, and the ATA board is going to, look up, what do we need?
Oh,
So it's,
And
that's,
military relations didn't meet in January. The next one is until
okay.
February. I'll contact
Janet.
Janet and let her know.
Now, Heartland Works.
I just want to be sure. So then Commissioner McKinley's going to take the ATA board.
Yes.
It's containing military relations. No, I wouldn't mind being on the chamber board. We have some specific things.
Yeah, kind of at the moment. Who's the alternate on that?
Chamber.
I don't think we have one, do we? I don't think there is. Anybody like to serve on the LEPC board,
The what?
the quarterly board, the local emergency planning committee?
Yeah, I'd like to serve on it.
Let's let Lori know on that. That's, she's the first or second Monday of that every third month, whatever it is. It's quarterly. We didn't meet in January, so it won't meet again until April.
But what about that board, that's with K-State, is that?
That's just a call. That's not even a board. Yeah, it's just been a Zoom call since. It's been a while now. I'm gonna say mid-August of 2020. As soon as we can work through the dynamics of this pandemic at the moment, we probably won't have that one anymore. And same with the recovery task force. That's just kind of a in the moment pandemic related.
Yeah.
We're hopeful that's.
Yeah, I am. It looked there for a while like we might be able to put one or both of those to the side, but.
Are there things as chair that need to be transferred to Greg on some of those boards?
No.
None of them are based on commissions.
Yeah, it's not like the
District,
city where you have like
Commission
the
district
mayor.
or commission position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
So that's what I thought. We change because of that.
I mean, even the law board's not that way. It's not based on commission position.
Really, it's just a title for a year and signing some documents, running a
We'll
meeting.
just run the meeting.
Yep,
Signatures,
pretty much.
More signatures.
Yeah, more
Extra
signatures, right?
Yeah, so
We got extra pins if you need those. Those I can transfer.
just so we're clear that because it's kind of coincidence timing wise, when you reorganize the Board of County Commissioners, you don't necessarily annually reorganize the advisory boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't go hand in hand.
In fact, it's that bit odd. I don't think we've had a discussion about it, to be honest with you.
Well, like I brought up, I think it's good.
No.
Like, when I'm going into
That's fine.
chair next year,
Yeah.
I'd like to find, be more involved in a lot of things.
In terms of the chamber, Catherine, I might make a suggestion. See, they've got several other subcommittees and subboards. I reach out and see, you're really gonna get the intricate part of that by doing that. I might be curious about that. Now they've been looking, I think they've done it for this year, but if an opening or something comes up. Good.
But you're gonna stay on that.
Yeah,
Why was
it's just because it's a 3:30 meeting and it works around my work schedule. That's really what it basically boils down to. I've got everything, whether they're Zoom calls or in-person calls at this point in time, they work around my work schedule and I've got everything organized to where it works. And I'm actually trying to organize it where several of those other meetings I could actually, by other means, do them while I'm working. We'll see how that one works, but
Yeah.
I gotta get them to approve me, not just OSHA approved ear protection, that's earbuds, but the microphone that goes with it. And we're talking about that one.
Well, I was kind of thinking about your schedule, that if you run for reelection, you're going to be really busy between the job and here.
Yeah, I still think we're working through that.
Yeah.
That's part of a box that needs to be checked off. Yeah.
All the more reason to work on committees.
Um,
Also,
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Especially when several of those, we've got some stuff that we are actually working on, including the chamber. So, yeah, that's why.
And Heartland Works, yeah, I don't understand on that unless you would like to do that. That's, it meets quarterly too, so. And I have another thing I want to discuss after we get done with this.
So those are the only, just want to be sure I have the changes. McKinley said he'd give Folky the Military Relations Committee board, and he would take the ATA bus board. Ford stated Folky could have the local emergency planning committee. Are there any other changes I missed, commissioners? Okay.
Well, the other thing I was been thinking about is since we don't have a county administrator, that we administer all the departments. And I was thinking, been in a lot of volunteer organizations, and I was thinking about, like how our churches run, how we have a council, and then we have liaisons to all the different committees. And I was wondering if, I'm just going to throw this up for thought, that maybe we could take all of our different departments and split them up and be like if we, I think we have 10 or 12, but split them up like I would have 3 departments that I would be a liaison to. Then they, get to know people a little better, all the employees, that kind of thing, what's going on, and if there are any problems or issues, they could come to me and I could see what I could do about it, and for all of us, and then solve some issues and actually really be a lot more involved with our departments. So I just thought I'd throw that up and see what you guys would think about that.
Well, I guess every commissioner does things a little bit differently, but I'd like to think anyway, I'm pretty intricately involved with all of our department heads already. So I feel like I've kind of, to some extent, done that already. And I would encourage everybody else just to do that in general already and not necessarily segregate them to 3 or 4 per. Because ultimately the decisions that we make collectively influence that anyway. So it's been on my list to get back, because the pandemic has kind of changed our approaches on that, is to get back with each one of our department heads quarterly, once in that quarter, and talk about things, which is on my list to do. And I'm one by one trying to knock those off. So.
Well, and I felt really at a loss when we were doing these evaluations, and
that's a process that we need to
Yeah,
do
that's-
something a little different with anyway.
yeah, that just didn't
Yeah,
make sense to me.
Yeah, and we'll get to that some point in time this year, correct, Rich?
Yeah, that's interesting dialogue that Kevin brings up. I don't think it's a horrible idea. I see what you're trying to accomplish. And it does directly relate to satisfaction and appointed department heads evaluations on the commissioner side, but also the department head side. Because quite frankly, Clancy was on the department head meeting. This was a topic of discussion. I mean, there's not only frustration from the commissioners, but also on the appointed department head side as well. Because they would like for the evaluations to be more along, talking in depth about their position and their responsibility. And commissioner said, well, I don't work with them day to day, so I don't exactly know. And it's just, I've been in it 30 years. Some commissioners are better at making the rounds on a regular basis to all the departments, just touching base, not here, but in the actual departments, and discussing, having a cup of coffee and just discussing things with appointed and elected officials, actually. And so I would highly encourage all of you to do that. Some do it better than others in the past and also now currently. And that's how you get to do what you're doing. And as John said, if you guys decide to kind of do your liaison thing, just understand there's nothing required by law and you don't have any authority. But the thing you have to be careful of is, I'm the liaison for public works, so I'm gonna tell John what to do. Well, you have to remember, as one commissioner, you can't. So those things, I'm just telling you, those are the things you have to be careful of in doing those types of things. And so, it would be great if all of you would visit more with the departments to understand more intricately, to have a higher value for those evaluations annually. So there's dissatisfaction right now on both sides. We are looking at modifying it, making the questions, like maybe 5 categories to rate people on, but still, even if you don't really understand what they're doing, what's the value as well, so.
Well, and I kind of wanted to see more of a formalized kind of process that I'm gonna, you can talk to me, like John can talk to me if there's a problem, not that it would X out anybody else.
No,
but that there would be.
if it's an overall issue, it's just either they got to go through a filter to talk to each one of us, or we have to schedule times to talk to them separately. That's always been my goal to do that since day one here, but with COVID, a lot of things have changed underneath that, and I'm hoping to get back to that, but it's still kind of up in the air. But
Well, if we have 3 people calling John, say, I want to see you, it might, take a lot of time out of their work schedules. But I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it out. Think the same way.
I'm not gonna tell you no.
Maybe
I think that's
maybe once.
I think that's going to be probably if we have separate issues and then we need to discuss them, then the proper term would be to have said department head here to discuss them in an open meeting like we do. But if we need to do that segregatedly, I would openly and honestly tell you, I think we should get with each of our appointed and elected department heads on a consistent basis. I think it's important.
Yep, we're into John's time. If you'd like to schedule more time to discuss this, commissioners, let us know. We'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Sounds good.
That's John's time.
Okay, thank you. John Ellerman, Public Works Director. We're going to go through my monthly update here. A lot of things same as usual. We'll go through and then skip those that haven't had much action last month. Lakeside Heights, seems like every time we turn around, we run into a snag somehow. We are in discussions. We have a meeting tomorrow morning. Yes. Oh, yeah, Lakeside Heights, that's Keats. On Keats tomorrow morning, on Lakeside Heights, where you've got approved plans from USDA. Personally, I need to contact Austin yet today to just see what our next steps are and where we go from here with the plan approval and getting the project started and finally completed. And then so Keats, we run into snags. We have a meeting to discuss some of those. I think a lot of those now are increased prices on materials and supplies and labor that we're running into. So we meet this tomorrow morning to discuss some more of those, right?
Where are we at as far as USDA funding on that? They were wanting those things signed off and everything. Did they agree that we didn't have to have 100%?
I think they kind of held back on requiring 100%.
That's the last I knew. but that's before this latest revised cost estimate.
I think it'd be good, John, after that meeting tomorrow, to schedule some time with the board to say exactly where we're at, because commissioners, I tell you, that community has to have this happen. I know costs are going up, but it's not gonna get any cheaper, and you're potentially slowly gonna be shutting down a community if you don't get this done.
Better on the side.
Yeah, I'd agree.
With that. Roseville Bridge, we're under construction there. Piles have been driven. They shut down for a couple weeks over. Of course, right there.
That's traffic.
The over Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday, they kind of shut down for a while. Besides the snow and cold, it kind of worked out at a pretty good time. They should fire back up and start working this week. Fancy Creek, we're nailing down some extra easement or right away from the Corps, and we should be getting close to final set of plans here before long. The Corps and Historical Society allow us to take the bridge off of the current location and set it aside parallel to the road behind the guardrail. And we're working on some details on maintenance and right of way.
How long of a bridge is it?
It's a little over 60 feet.
Someone like that in Virginia where they had taken the bridge and set it aside, but they used it more for, they had it for a walking path too.
We thought about that. There could be a couple of places maybe on the future bridges, or if we really wanted to move it, there's a couple of places we may look at too. Some of them would be coordination with the state. One of them is maybe down at Seco Park somewhere, as a walk bridge, or not for necessarily any vehicles, but maybe some parks, utility vehicles.
On a bridge like this one, where it really doesn't make sense, at least I don't think it makes sense on this one to make it like a walking bridge. There's not a lot of people.
Well, part of the design of the new bridge is the span increases some, which help. If we left that in place or moved it up on the stream, we were worried about debris buildup.
Make it a restriction.
Yeah.
My point is that one probably isn't a good candidate to use as a walking bridge.
Oh, it could,
It
yes, if we moved it to a different location.
Gotcha.
And I'm not sure if Historic Society will let us narrow the bridge. It's about 20 feet wide now. A walking bridge wouldn't necessarily need to be 20 feet. And it also narrowing it up, cutting it in half or so to say, may help moving it a little bit easier too.
You might check into that, see if they would allow that.
Well, it's not going anywhere, so
Yeah.
it'll be there if we decide to.
Something to do something different with it too.
What was that? And my only concern is potential liability.
Yeah.
That's another structure we have additional liability on that's not being used for what it's intended use, which was for traffic.
Yeah, that's something we're working through, is making it where we can. Difficult enough for anybody to be climbing on or being. We're not going to put the deck back on. We're going to keep the deck off, but just leave it to open steel structure, basically.
So even less safe to go across.
Well, you're not going to get close to going across to it. We will make sure you're not going to cross it. If you want on it, you'll have to climb to get to it.
Speaking of liability.
That just sounds like a challenge. Go for it.
No, I'd rather not see that.
South Outer Bridge, because estimated to start here in March yet. Sin Road Bridge is pretty much finished. I think we're just looking at making a final checklist and getting everybody checked off on getting the project accepted. West 32nd Street was the only other one, and it should be, we'll have a pre-construction conference next week, and with the idea of them starting here at the end of January. West 32nd Avenue. The guys, Alvin and his crews are working on the Wildcat Park Bridge. The piles are driven, the steel's set, the beams are set, backing's on. They're looking at backfilling this week and then putting a metal decking on before, if we get some good weather, he'll try to pour some concrete here in the next month or so. Parks are doing their winter maintenance activities, work. There's a couple of the crew that still need CDLs. They're scrambling to get at least their permits passed before February 7th deadline where the rules change. So they're trying to get those in before that. Working on equipment maintenance and had, of course, some snow rule removal at the first of the year. Alvin's crew's operation guys are working on Wildcat Park Bridge. Did some cleaning ditches, started their small structure inspections for the year. The windstorms had a little over 100 signs damaged or blown off or however, whatever. They're working on fixing those. Spent a little over $13,000 picking up trees and branches off of various roads in the county. We still have a mechanic position open. Hopefully we can get that hired soon because I think there's another one looking at retirement. And that position has been difficult to, seems like everybody's looking for a mechanic. We are scheduling some repairs. We had some wind damage to the shop, a couple the big overhead doors, and one of the smaller ones, roof vent, exhaust vent blew off, and some damage to the heat on the inside. So working on with the insurance company and getting some work scheduled so we can get that back up and going again. Leonardville shop is complete. All the electric and the lights are on, the plug-ins are in, so it's working like it was originally supposed to. Been working on EMS station RFPs. We have interviews tomorrow on Wednesday of the consultants, short list of consultants. Hopefully be back within the next week or two to decide, present a recommendation. We're working on some EPA and KDHE issues of with the University Park Treatment Plant. Working through some of that. Hopefully, like to next week, maybe the week after or next week, we'll bring to you a RFQ to hire an engineer to help us with those things at University Park. We have assumed water operator duties for Kanza, Hunters Island, and Moment Bottoms. Larson, who was doing that for us, decided they had enough. It was time to move on. They were getting busy, and I think there's maybe some staff that they want to do it, but they sent us a notice about 90 days ahead of time to stop that, and that's so we've been picking up those duties. We have our first request for surcharges on trucks. We have one truck that was bid out in November-ish, I think, or the very first one we did since I've been here. It's being built. It has a $500 surcharge, and I'm coming back with you with I'll have the car with you next week, hopefully, or Thursday about that. And then the other one, the second one we ordered in March is like a $4,300 charge on chassis. We received that letter the day after we presented the PO for the ones two you just approved. And we were confused at first when they said that. First two trucks, we will have requests to increase or at least, increase the purchase price of those. I have a couple more. Been working with the city a little bit about their project on Kimball with Dennis and the Tuttle Creek being closed. The next phase will be closing Dennis and the college. They're working on that section. And I think even the one after that would be the Dennison Avenue intersection. So we've been talking about Marlatt and things there. City has suggested they put up speed signs with the radar on them between College and Denison, maybe from Browning and Denison, that they would pay for the signs and have them installed if we were okay with them. We'll come back with some more details, but those are that, maybe a left turn lane on westbound Marlatt onto College. And maybe some lighting along Marlatt there. So westbound Marlatt, it seems like most of the traffic wants to hit College and come into town.
Yeah.
And that guilty, especially in the mornings.
So that's makes sense to me. I wanted to warn you that, or at least bring that to you now, that when I come to you later on to maybe make a decision on what we do and how we do it. The first step with the turn lane I think they wanted to talk to Benish, because they did the other design and maybe get that started to see what it costs could be involved in it. And this is ahead of our project with that 23 to 27 sales tax. So those are the things I had just to bring up, make you aware of, or if you have any questions about what we've done, what we're doing.
Yeah, on the water operating, operating water systems, will we build the benefit districts for, I assume the benefit district paid for, or was that right?
Right. So we paid Larson's to do that work before reimbursed from the benefit district. Will just be reimbursed for Public Works for those for that time. Yeah.
Is that going to be something that goes on indefinitely, or are we going to be looking for someone else to do that?
There's two options. Right now I'm looking at making it in-house. I have a job description in the works with Elizabeth helping me with, and that's to be presented to you shortly, to bring the water system operators in-house. We have an open position in the department that I was going to change the description to make this happen instead of trying to hire as it was.
Are there the other ones that we take over then?
The only other one we have is some sewer that now HPS and Bob Bloom are operators on, and they are the water operator for University Park. So I'm not in a hurry to take that away from them yet. But it could happen as time goes.
Anything else?
Good to go.
Next, we've got
Thank you.
Shelley.
Shelley
See
sign.
her on Zoom. Shelley?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I wanted to test out the new COVID policy. So I'm coming to you via satellite this morning from my home and hope that I won't cough too much on you. I want to thank you for your time this morning, and hopefully I won't go past my 15 minutes. I will talk quickly. If I could share my screen as we go here. Okay. Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
Hear her. So can you speak up a little bit, Shelley? It's hard to hear you.
I will try. Is that better?
Can't really hear her either.
We can't hear it. I don't know if it's.
You want me to, let's see, I'm not sure if I got a call-in option.
Are
Do you
you on
want
a
me to-
laptop, Shelley?
Yeah,
Try to go down to the bottom and see if you can just turn up your volume manually on the laptop.
it's at 100.
Okay.
I don't know how to get
That's my IT advice for the morning.
This is, hi, this is Vivian. I can hear Shelley just fine on Zoom. Is there a way to turn up the volume in the commission room?
I've got this on 100,
Shoot.
but I don't know if there's probably a volume to the speaker as well.
Yeah, I think that's
Feedback.
Yeah, we'll get feedback on that. That's why that's down. That's probably right. Speakers are old.
See what happens.
Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, Vivian.
You figured it out? Yeah, I did. Come on, I did it today.
And it could be just my voice being not.
That's a little better, yeah.
That's really loud on the speakers.
Okay. Sounds fine.
Okay.
Her stuff back on there.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they got the screen share.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you guys now. Is it okay if I start?
Yes.
Okay, great. As you know, Community Corrections is a state and local partnership, and we provide community supervision to moderate to high risk felony offenders. And currently, as of this morning, out of about 115 adult offenders, 70 of those are person felons. Sorry, I'm gonna have to remember to go through both as I do this. Okay. We supervise them by addressing their criminogenic risk, which is their risk to reoffend. And we do this through effective practices in community supervision and evidence-based practices. This is just a list of the programs that we currently provide as part of our programming here in Manhattan. And those are listed out there. I wanted to spend some time on this particular slide. In Kansas, we have a trifurcated system of community supervision. And when I say that, what I mean is that we have 3 different entities that are currently providing supervision to misdemeanor and felony offenders in Kansas. Under the judicial branch, you have court services, which, as you folks know, that is over in the basement of the courthouse, and they are state employees. However, you fund their operations and provide them space. They supervise misdemeanor probation, low-risk felony probation, and then interstate compact misdemeanor probation. So any misdemeanor offenders moving to the area, they supervise those offenders. The Kansas legislature appropriated roughly $10.8 million for judicial branch pay increases and $4.3 million for 70 new court service officer positions for this current fiscal year, FY22, that started on July 1st of 2021. So moving over to the second part of the slide, the executive branch. The Department of Corrections they run parole, and parole are state employees, and they are DOC funded. And of course, they supervise anybody coming out of prison. They also have interstate compact felony. So any felons moving to Kansas, parole provides that supervision. And then you have community corrections. And as you know, they provide funding and oversight. However, they do that at made us county agencies, county employees, but we are state grant funded. And again, supervising those moderate to very high risk felony offenders. We do receive state grant dollars to provide those services. They are mandated programs. And it's really, rather than sending an offender to prison, they're supervised in the community at a fraction of the cost. Just to point out, in addition to what was appropriated to the judicial branch for FY22, the governor issued an executive order the Monday before Thanksgiving and allocated just over $500,000 for FY22 and almost $1 million for FY23 for parole officer pay increases. Community corrections agencies did not receive any of the 15 million or 1.5 million in approved new funding for community supervision entities, which is why I'm here speaking to you folks today. Those salary increases for the other agencies in the community supervision system impacts community corrections ability to maintain its own workforce. And as a result, public safety is and will be negatively impacted. In addition to not receiving any of the new monies that have been recently allocated, we are roughly 9 or 10 years, we've lost track of flat funding from the legislature. We are state general fund funded, which is the same that funds, of course, schools and highways and other things that come out of the state general fund. Intensive supervision is at risk. So when agencies are underfunded and understaffed, caseloads become too large to adequately supervise high-risk offenders, and increasing crime in the communities is a reality. The offenders that we supervise in the community have serious criminal histories, and over 50, roughly 3% have both mental health and substance use issues. Officers are not having enough time to spend with these offenders doing the difficult work of changing offender behavior. Underfunded agencies cannot afford to dedicate staff time to programming targeted at teaching offenders new skills. Right now in Kansas, the average caseload statewide is 49.8 high-risk felony offenders. That should be around 35 per officer. And again, it's at 49.8. You know the cost of turnover in the business that you are in. And of course, first and foremost is loss of experienced employees, exhausted staff. We deal with difficult problems and difficult folks day in and day out. And it is a toll on their both physical and mental health as well. To train a new probation officer in community corrections, it's roughly 162 hours the first year. So it really is taking almost 1 to 1.5 years to replace the knowledge of experience of when we lose somebody. Supervision becomes less intensive, and as I mentioned earlier, less programming because of the higher caseloads, and then not being able to meet the minimum standards that the state has for us. This is just an example of the competitive salary that was put into place by the judicial branch July 1. And as you can see with flat funding, being able to compete with our peer probation supervision entities is impossible. By 2028, the Kansas prison population is expected to increase by 21%. And one of Governor Kelly's stated goals last year was to reduce recidivism, increase public safety among people on community corrections, and realize a 30% reduction in revocations by 2030. Revocations to prison from community corrections, it impacts the prison population significantly. And this just kind of outlines the difference between court services and community corrections, which I've already spoken a little bit about previously. This brings me to my next and final slide. We're really asking for your support, both with the governor and the legislature. Myself and Commissioner Ford and my peer from the 8th Judicial District, as well as the chairman of their Board of County Commissioners and our lobbyists for the Kansas Community Corrections Association, met with Senator Hawk a couple of weeks ago to talk about what has happened in Kansas with the increase to the judicial branch, the increase to parole, and the flat funding with community corrections. Really, the outcome of it is fewer offender contacts, decreased compliance management with these felony offenders, the inability to recruit and maintain skilled staff, less experience and specialized officers, and less means more. So more crime, more victims, more jail confinement, more future recidivism of offenses, more employee turnover. And we're just asking not only for your support and help, but to make you aware that we are working closely with the Secretary of Corrections, and they are advocating loudly, if you will, to get additional funding for community corrections. And they understand, I think, the crisis that we are in statewide. I have mentioned several years, we are down 2 positions in the last 5 years. And so we've been dealing with this issue for some time now, where people are doing more with less locally in our supervision of our offenders. We are hopeful that in the governor's budget that comes out later on this week, that we will be in there. If not, we will have a lot of advocacy work left yet to do. One slide, well, it's not in the PowerPoint, the statute is listed there, KSA 7552-103. And hopefully, can you see the statute that's listed there?
Yeah.
Okay. This was brought to our attention in community corrections by the Department of Corrections at the very beginning of COVID. And as you can imagine, that was the least of our concern at that time. And it has come back up and been asked informally by the governor's office, as well as legislators across Kansas. And this statute has been on the books, evidently, roughly since 78, when the Community Corrections Act went into place. But what it states here in the second part of the first paragraph is that the county shall make expenditures for correctional services as described in KSA 7552-91 and amendments thereto, from any funds other than from grants under this act in an amount equal to or exceeding the amount of base year corrections expenditures as determined by the Secretary of Corrections under subsection B. And then it goes on to say that if we, as a county, did not make expenditures for correctional services from funds other than from the grant funds, then the next ensuing calendar year shall be reduced by an amount equal to the amount by which such county failed to make required amount of expenditures. I'm going to try and stop sharing my screen now. Okay. With that being said, when we did meet with Senator Hawk a couple of weeks ago, this statute was discussed, and it was something that has been brought up in public settings. And so I wanted to make you guys aware of it. It is not something that we've been aware of. I think it's just been hidden in the act, so to speak, Community Corrections Act. And so we have asked Commissioner Ford and his counterpart in the 8th Judicial District of Geary County if we needed to, when it came to any funding hearings in the legislature, to advocate on our behalf, if you will, at a hearing. And so Commissioner Ford, I don't know if you want to add anything at this point, or kind of your takeaway from our time in talking about this funding dilemma with Senator Hawk.
Yeah, let me point out one thing on that slide, that 14.3 million for Riley County, that is statewide through both the county and the other judicial districts, and some of those are combined counties. So Shelley knows more about the breakdowns on those than I do, but if I remember right, it's approximately 55, 60,000 per year increase here, broken
Correct.
out of that.
Yes.
Some of the larger counties, like Sedgwick County, Johnson County, aren't quite as concerned about this as we are. Obviously, that's going to be a larger amount of that particular total. I get the indication that right now this is more of a working with the legislature type of thing. I think we have all been through that process several times, so we know how challenging, cumbersome, and difficult that can be. I don't know if we're at a point where that's a specific Raleigh County issue that we need to prioritize on our list, but if we could go up to Topeka and we need to make verbal and or written testimony to try to help. And the state apparently has $3 billion right now. That isn't federal dollars either. That's just regular surplus. So this isn't going to be a one-time, hey, let's use spark dollars, let's use federal funding to fix. This is going to have to be a longer term, planned out dialogue and a financial fix if indeed we can do that. I've talked to Clancy about the statutes on that to try to get a better idea of what those and those mean. That second paragraph is the one I think I'm probably most confused on, because I don't know what that means necessarily from a formula. I mean, it's a statute, but the state doesn't always fulfill their own duties or responsibilities when it comes to those to start with. And if they want to make an argument about that, I can make a counter argument to that. Well, maybe you got to facilitate your own on top of it, but we'll cross that bridge if we need to when we get to it. But yeah, that would be probably where I'm at. It's a new conversation for me, so I've got some gaps to fill in, and somewhere along the ways when it's pliable, it may not be pliable right now to sit down with Shelley and discuss that in a little bit more depth, but we're not there just quite yet. That's about all I can add at the moment. I think it was a good and necessary dialogue we had a couple of weeks ago for sure.
And Commissioner Ford is correct. For Riley County, and it's in the first, I'm not sure if Elizabeth can go back in the packet. It is the first.
If we want to look at it, Shelley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, ours is roughly 50-some thousand, and that 14.3 million is the statewide.
It's not kind of quick, but it's there. Yeah, it's got the breakdown of all those judicial districts on there, and then if you want to spend the time to put all those figures together and add it up, it would add up to that 14.3 million.
Correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Are there any questions?
Agenda report, Catherine, under Shelley's time there.
Is that in there first? Before the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
It's a summary page.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Which district?
We're in Riley County. We're on a separate deal. It was 50,304, 55. Yeah. Like I said, those other judicial districts, they take into corporation 4, 5, 6 counties. So when you all add them up, it would add up to the 105 outside of that.
If we do get to the point where we would like some assistance in the advocacy piece from you folks, what is the process for that?
I would think probably would make the most sense if it's statutory or finance. You probably want to work with Tammy and the Budget Finance Committee and figure those dynamics out. If it's human resource related, that would be Elizabeth. And if it's legal, that would be Clancy. That would be my thought.
I just want you to come testify in Topeka is really what I was talking about.
Oh, I guess on that one, you know, if that's I'm trying to remember, is that a state and federal affairs committee? No, that'd be corrections, never mind. So whether it comes up in the House or whether it comes up in the Senate, I think what would be beneficial for us is to know who those people are that are on those committees. If it's anybody local that's on those committees, we probably should work and talk to them first ahead of time. I think Tom's on the Senate one. I don't think there is anybody on the House side. And then just kind of appropriate with that dialogue is ahead of time on what it is that they're going to be discussing. So we kind of have some depth as to what we're going to discuss with them. I'm sure those statutes are going to come up in the middle of that conversation on probably both sides. And I'm developing a strategic response to that, but we won't talk about that in a moment. But yeah, when that time comes, as much heads up, as much depth as we can put into it ahead of time would be beneficial.
Great. Senator Hawk asked that we get on his budget committee agenda as well as on the counterpart side of that.
Okay. I need to see what the official list of assignments are when those come out. Those probably should be coming out the next couple of days as session starts today at about 10 minutes, I think.
Okay, great. Are there any questions on the information or other stuff?
I would probably mention that probably be beneficial at some point in time if all of us probably get involved in that conversation. So not just me. Yeah, okay. That's all I've got. Appreciate the time, Shelley.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Just one more plug. Vivian is helping with an infographic that just kind of summarized the presentation today to have a one sheet. It'll probably front and back, but she's working to help me with that. So I wanted to put a plug in and thank her for her help. And thank you for your time.
And next commissioners, we're in Clancy Holman's time.
Okay.
Commissioner, I'd like you to add an executive session to my time, please.
Okay, go ahead and make a motion to add an executive session to Clancy Holman's administrative services time.
I'll second. Move second to add executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was hoping you'd catch that.
It's kind of hard to switch.
Yeah. Okay. I'll move that the county commission, including Chairman McKinley, Commissioner Ford, and Commissioner Folke, and Commissioner Ford, so it's even got me.
Yeah.
Recess into executive session on potential litigation for the purpose of consultation with Clancy Holman, Riley County Counselor, attorney for the commission, which should be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. It's an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 11:15 a.m. John Elliman, Public Works Director, will be present during a portion of the executive session to provide factual information.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move into executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll get that right.
Yeah.
All right, move the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
One second.
It's been
We move the second and come out of executive session. All those in favor?
Aye. It took me a little while here too. I'll go ahead and also move that the record reflect no binding action was taken during the executive session.
Second, and move and second that no
Binding action.
no binding action is taken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Actually, I've got one question for you, Tyler.
Uh-oh. I've got 1.2.
Oh, okay. That's what I would do too.
It's easy to go back.
Let's hope now. Now, have we got any closer on a Microsoft Teams solution?
We are still working on it.
I realized trying to download something from my Microsoft Teams call on Wednesday, we do have to have an account. And, yeah, I'm not gonna pay the subscription fee for one meeting. So it is county related, I might add too, so.
On the email, I got one that said I got a notice that email was quarantined.
Yep.
Is there a way to look at it, or I just say, because I can't open it to see what it is. Is that right?
You should be able to. I'll show you whenever we get finished. I'll show you.
Okay. I thought there was a way that you could open.
We
without-
switched.
Without opening it, you can look at it or something to see what it.
So we've switched it from Cisco to Microsoft's new, and so because we're in the process of migrating to Office 365, and so we're updating a lot of our systems in the back ends, and so one of those is our quarantine notification system.
Okay, that's what we're done.
Yeah, I can show you.
You could always ask if it's vaccinated or unvaccinated.
You're there, Dick. I thought you were the one done talking about it.
Gotta poke a joke every once in a while, or I'm just never gonna get through
Well, he
it.
said he was gonna move COVID at the end of the meeting. So.
That's true.
Anything else? Did you have?
No, I don't have anything else.
I did one other thing. Like I said, I talked to North Central Regional Planning Council, which from what I've heard, because even the city of Riley did some stuff through them earlier, that they are successful in doing what Flint Hills has not been able to. Because we're actually about them on 3, because what Marshall, Washington, and Clay are already members in that. If we're interested in doing another one, they said they could have someone come down and talk to us about it, about what they offer. And basically talking to them, the fees are even less than what they were at Flint Hills, but there's more there. That's why I didn't brought it back to see if you guys are interested. I can call and set something up to have somebody come talk sometime.
Yeah, I don't see what it is.
To see what's available. And I know they, like I said, they've done a lot of projects. Even some of their projects, we got a weatherization for low incomes that the grant they got even covers Riley, covers some of the counties outside of their actual district. But they've got a large full bill, they got a lot of staff and grants and a lot more stuff going on there. But I can talk to the guy and see if you guys are interested.
We're gonna listen to them and see what they have to offer.
See what they have to offer.
It's something we might want, I don't.
That'll be, I don't know if we want to, but I just knew that they seem to have done what Flint Hills has tried.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to listen to.
Okay. Okay.
And Greg just had to call Cindy Cameron and put on the agenda.
Just schedule.
Yeah. We can see how much time they need, any information they want to get on the packet.
So just so I clarify, we are going to have a Thursday meeting after all?
Well, the only thing we have on there right now is the business and let me tell you exactly.
Payroll. That's part of business.
There's a payroll and Clancy's time.
Do you have something, Clancy?
I don't, read the Iliad or something to you.
So
No.
that is the only business item. So you've really got one item to take care of besides today's minutes, of course, and the standard business meeting stuff. There's no other staff time. And unfortunately, that's just how it goes, commissioners, when we had a date blocked off for months. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with still having it, even if it's just for half an hour to take care of said business, considering considering some challenges that are occurring in the clerk's office currently, it might not be a bad idea just to do that. Stay through the motions instead of just changing it at the last moment again.
Okay.
That's my thought, but.
Yeah, I need to go because I've got stuff if I come back in.
Yeah, me too. I got some stuff I can do in the office. That's not a big
Okay,
deal.
go ahead. Give it a try. then.
Yeah. We've had half an hour, 40-minute long meetings. It's not uncommon, particularly this time of the year as we kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of in between.
Yeah.
We can get Holman to cancel his time. We may have a record short meeting.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Now that you just said that, that
I
won't
hope you
happen.
dressed
so.
that well.
Can we make a motion that?
We could, yeah. It's an only two of us have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it always depends on the motion. You could always not vote for the.
I don't know, you can put out to any, other departments or whatnot, if there's something that they wanted to take care of immediate, that
We do
still
have
available.
time available.
And there is another option is that if you guys don't want to come in the office, I could set up a Zoom meeting or something like that. And you guys could remote in if you guys wanted to. Depends on if you guys want to drive in or not.
Well, you've got to actually sign the document for payroll, so.
That's true. My bad.
Other than that, you would be absolutely right.
That Monday, though, so. Yeah.
Well, Monday, everything's closed, so there won't be.
Oh,
IT.
yeah,
There's no
well,
meeting
that's
Monday.
Thursday, so that's right.
Unless they set up in advance and it works perfectly, which it probably wouldn't. So, no, that's okay. That's okay. I'm making plans on working on that Monday myself, so.
We don't have the city council meeting. Have we heard on that?
We're discussing that on Thursday. That was on the tentative agenda.
City county's
I don't have anything on the county side to talk about. I don't know what the city does, except they're.
I haven't heard from them either, that if we're gonna have it Monday or not.
I would probably, if I was a bet man at this point in time, I could think of one item that could possibly come up.
Agreed.
And it was discussed here this morning, so.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't have anything for it, but we can discuss that a little more thoroughly on Thursday.
Okay.
Somebody would come in and discuss Ridge.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I'll need a motion.
I'll go ahead and move that we adjourn the January 10th, 2022 Raleigh County Commission meeting.
I would second that.
And moving second.